Unsold art is a nuclear time bomb on your self-esteem. It will cut you open year over year until you have no confidence left. But all of that ends today as we unravel the mystery around pricing your art. The first level of pricing your art is following a simple equation. Hourly rate multiplied by hours worked plus material costs. So let's say you are charging yourself $20 an hour, or you're giving yourself $20 an hour, and you work on a particular piece for 50 hours, and the material costs are $150. Well, 20 multiplied by 50 would be $1,000, plus $150 for material costs is $1,150. Let's say you sell this at a gallery, they charge 50% commission, so that you double the whole thing to $2,300. That's the end point price of your artwork, $2,300. Now, this first level of pricing your art is a bullshit pricing mechanism that everybody in the art world is advising you. And all of those people that are advising you, mark what they are doing with their lives. All of them suck. All of them are slaves. All of them lose in the marketplace, and none of them make money, because this whole pricing system that I just explained is absolute crap. The art world, of course, doesn't work on hourly rate. And all of the artists that you admire, none of them do hourly rate. None of the rich people do hourly rate. None of the people that you admire from the history books do hourly rate. None of the people that you want to become like do hourly rate. And so this whole hourly rating is a waste of your time. You don't want to be doing that. You want to step out of that slave mind, of that slave mentality, that the only reason that people believe this is because they have been brainwashed by the schooling system. They have been brainwashed by the job that they have been doing. And the job didn't make them rich. The reason why people work for hourly rates at their job is because it benefits the company, not because it benefits the people that work for the company. And so these slave minds have adopted this, and that's why they do that. Anyway, let's go to the next step of pricing your art, a next level, a higher up level for slightly more advanced artists. In the second level of pricing your art, you will identify what makes an artwork valuable, what increases the value of the artwork in the eyes of the buyers. Because if you understand what increases the value, then you can just add those elements to your artworks and charge way more, even though it costs you the same amount of time to make those artworks. And so, what are some of the things that influence the price of an artwork? Well, exhibitions is an obvious one. If you have solo exhibitions or group exhibitions, the price of your art will increase because this is some kind of authority element. If you have magazine features, if you have features in various media institutions, then this will of course increase the value and price of your art. If you have won awards, this will increase the value of your art. If you have particular collectors, then this will also increase the value of your art. A track record, but not all collectors are created equal. Some collectors are more equal than others. If a collector, for example, is famous, then that will increase the price of your art way more. If a collector has a track record where they, for example, collected a lot of artists that then became extremely expensive and valuable 20 years later, then a lot of other collectors see that trajectory and are now like, whoa, hey, my God, if this collector collects art, then I should definitely buy the artwork, especially if it's cheap, because that clearly means that this art is going to increase in value. This collector that has this successful track record knows things that I don't know. And so if you have those collectors collecting your art, then your art will of course be perceived as much more valuable than if you don't have those. Now, those collectors are of course not famous traditionally speaking, but they are famous within this niche. And then if you have actual famous people and they are hanging it in their home, then yeah, there will be people that are fans of those famous people that will also want to have that same vibe and that same reality and that same lifestyle. And what is a good way to get that same lifestyle? By buying the same products that these people have. And so that will also increase the value of your artwork. Now, I could sum up a whole list. As a matter of fact, I've created a list with over 70 ways that your art will increase in value. I will give that list for free at the end of the video. Let's go to level 3 of pricing your art, because once you understand what influences the price of your art, you also want to take the context in which your art is being shown into account. And we are going to explain that through the contrast principle. Let me give you an example. So let's explain this with the contrast principle. Let's say you have 3 buckets of water. 1 bucket on the right, 1 bucket in the middle, 1 on the left. The one on the right is super cold water. The one on the left is super hot water. And you take your right hand, put it in the right bucket. You take your left hand, put it in the left bucket. And you let it sit there for a couple of minutes. And then you take your right hand from the cold water, your left hand from the warm water, in the middle bucket with room temperature water. Now what is going to happen? Your left hand that comes from hot water will feel cold. Your right hand that comes from cold water will feel hot, even though they're in the same room temperature bucket of water. Now you obviously know why this is the case. This is the case because of the contrast in which it came from. So there's a contrast with hot water, which is the reason why it feels cold. So context matters. What happens in the past matters when it comes to pricing your art. And so let me explain you how this contrast principle actually plays out in the art market. At some point I'm going to London. This is during the Friese Art Week, one of the famous art weeks, basically the most important art week in Europe. And I'm going to show my art in London. The first time in London. This is a big important moment and I'm excited as fuck. I'm investing my money in this. Okay, this fee, the booth fees cost thousands of dollars. The transportation, the accommodation, everything costs money. So this is a big thing for me. I don't have a lot of money at that time. I don't sell a lot of artworks at that time. And so in my mind, this is my moment. This is the big moment where I will potentially break free. And I told myself that if I don't sell anything and I'm investing everything in it, you know what? Then we just quit it. You know, then our art career is over. We're just gonna leave it. And so I'm driving to London. I arrive at the fair. I nervously unpack my art. I set everything up and there's one test piece that I brought with me. And I told the assistant to price the test piece at $500. And I go on my round, meeting some of the other artists, networking a little bit. And when I come back from my round, I'm absolutely blown away. I'm super excited, super happy. She tells me that the artwork, the test piece, sold. What's more, it sold for $5,000. She misunderstood the price point. Instead of $500, $5,000. Now, a couple of days later, the fair is over. None of my other artwork sold. The only artwork that sold was that test piece. And so I couldn't understand it. The other works were cheaper, $1,500, $2,000, $1,000. There are some smaller works that were even cheaper than that. And when I was talking to one of the galleries that was also showing during the Friese Art Week, they told me that they basically told me the contrast principle, that if I would have priced my art at $5,000, all of the artworks, I would have sold much more. Why? Because in London, $1,000 feels like nothing. These people are paying $2,500 a week for a small apartment. And so an artwork, $1,000, it's nothing. It feels meaningless to them. What is $1,000 for them is for you probably $150. And so it just felt extremely cheap because of that contrast principle. You have to be aware of the context in which you show your art. If the context that you show it in is London or New York, you have to push your prices up so that at least it feels qualitative for those people. This contrast principle is used all of the time. You can go to art fairs where famous big galleries are showing or lesser famous galleries, and what will they do? Oftentimes they are selling art at $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, but they have one artwork, one Picasso that is standing there as well, and the Picasso is worth $1.6 million, and they are selling that as well. They are not selling that. It's not hanging there because they want to sell that. It's hanging there so that the other artworks, contrast principle, the other artworks would feel extremely cheap. And so what actually happens is that the other artworks that they're showing are going to be sold much more because of this one Picasso that is hanging there. So this is the contrast principle at work. Now, as promised, link in the description for all the things that influence the price of your art. This PDF, I could have charged $5 for that or $10, but I give it away for free. And if you want more secrets that art galleries know, but we don't get to know, I have a video, best selling secrets galleries won't tell you. Link in the description and in the end screen. That said, get the hell out of here.